Hello, my name is Craig J. Davis and welcome to my channel. How are you all doing? I hope and I pray that you're all doing well, and I hope and pray that God is being kind to your health. I'm here today to talk about a very horrific event, a very tragic event, and a very sad event that recently took place. On Saturday, the 15th of October 2021, between 12 noon and 3 p.m, that is 1500 hours, an MP named David Amess never came home that day. He was an MP, right? That's the initials for members of parliament. Members of parliament. He was an MP for the Southend West, which is a region in southeastern England. Even though it says Southend West, it's actually in the southeast, right? It's in Essex, and that is a county in England. On that day, he never came home. And why did he never come home? He never came home because because at a cons, I got it written down here, right? I've written down some notes because some things are quite complicated, but I will get there, I swear, right? David Amess, with a group of other MPs and local people from that area came to see him, where they were at this what is called a constituency surgery. That's how you spell it there. See, right there, the bottom one there. So anyway, right, and it's something to do with politics, right? So, right, and this happened outside a church, and inside a church which is called a Belfast Methodist Church, right? That is a Belfast Methodist Church. And inside the church, just before 3 p.m, or was it after 12? Well, anyway, it was between 12 to 3 p.m, okay? Right. They're inside this church, where he is greeted by this guy, and it turns out he was stabbed multiple times and eventually died when David Amess succumbed to his wounds. Now, I've been reading the update of the events, right? At first, it said that he was stabbed 12 times. Then it says that he was stabbed between 12 to 17 times. But what the news now says is that it doesn't give any number at all how many times he was stabbed. Now it just says he was stabbed multiple times. So that tells me, I'm just assuming, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but that just tells me that they haven't got a clue how many times he was stabbed. He was stabbed inside God's house. That makes it even more horrific. I mean, it's horrific any way, right? I understand that. But to be killed inside a church, to be killed on sacred ground, to be killed on holy ground, and to be killed in God's house is even more horrific. And this should tell you all that Christianity is totally declining in this country. And this should tell you all, because it certainly tells me, that we are no longer a civilized country, and this country has, well, I don't want to insult dogs, but that's the only word I can think of at the moment. So I'm going to say this country has gone to the dogs. You know, what you have to understand is, right, this a man, David Amess, he was a family man, and he was a religious a man. Like me, he was a Christian. This scumbag, this vicious heathen, not only did he kill someone who was a family a man, not only did he kill my brother in Christ, he also killed a bloke, right? He also killed someone who, according to his friends and family, right, was a very gentle and a very loving man. He was an animal he was an animal lover, and he was totally against the barbaric practice of halal meat, where under the Sharia, right, under Sharia law, that is Islamic law, animals that are killed for food are hung up by one ankle, and they have their throats cut whilst they're still alive. That's right, whilst they are still conscious, they have their throats cut and they are led to bleed out. They are left to die in a slow, agonizing death. And any civilized person who cares and loves animals would also have the same thoughts and the same feelings as David Amess. And he was killed for it. Why? Because the guy who killed him was an Islamic extremist from Somalia. This guy, right, David Amess, on that fateful day when he went to work, he didn't come home. He left a wife without a husband, who was Julia, and he left 5 offsprings without a father. And apparently one of his kids, you know, I mean, obviously they've all grown up now. That is why I said offspring and not children. But one of his kids is an actress named Katie. Apparently she's an actress. I mean, I don't recall seeing her in anything, but according to records, she's an actress. What you have to understand is, right, this is what we have to get your heads around. This is now Great Britain. This is now England in the 21st century AD. With so much technology, right, with all the technology that we've got today, you would think that it would bring us closer together, you know, in harmony, right? And you would think that it would make us more civilized, but it's done nothing of the sort, right? This was a guy from Somalia with a completely different outlook on life. Like all Muslims, they have a completely different outlook on life. They have different views, different cultures, and they have a completely different way on how they see the world. And these people hate us. They hate Western culture, they hate Western society, and they hate everything that we stand for. See, civilized people don't act like this. And how, right, we've already had Muslim terrorist attacks, right? I'm not going to talk about 9/11 because that happened in a completely different country. I'm just going to be talking about in this country, England. We've already had the July the 7th London bombings in 2005. We already had that terrorist attack at that arena in Manchester in 2017. And now we've had another terrorist attack towards an innocent person whose family is now grieving. But this guy who killed him, he couldn't give a rat's ass. Why? Because he doesn't have a conscience, and in his head, because he's a Muslim, he believes that what he has done is justified. Because that is what the Quran tells Muslims to do. To strike terror into the hearts of the unbelievers. To kill the unbelievers. And why? Because according to the Quran, Allah does not like the unbelievers. And if you kill the infidel, us, you will go to paradise. And when you begin to think like them, then you can understand where they are coming from. Right? This guy who killed David Amess, as far as he's concerned, he's innocent. He carried out a job. He carried out a job for Allah. And why? Because he insulted his religion, but by stating that he's against Sharia law. That was it. That was enough to cause a rage in this 25-year-old person who became a perpetrator, who became a criminal and killed David Amess. Sorry, David Amess. But what I find really disturbing, right? This is what I find really, really disturbing. It says that he was killed. It says that he killed him. He killed David Amess multiple times. First it says 12, then it says 17, right? But let's go with the first announcement, yeah? 12 times. This is what I find really hard to fathom. This is what I can't get my head around. They were both, right? David Amess, David Amess, and the guy who went to kill him. They were surrounded by a group of people. I don't know how many people, but you know, when you say a group, you know, it was at least a dozen, right? And that's 12, if not but I would say it was a more than that. Say, I don't know, 20 people, right? Or 25 people, right? Inside this church. He managed to stab him 12 times. Let's just say that, yeah? Because then it's 17 times, yeah, right? Let's just say 12 times. They were both with a group of people. How the hell did he manage to get away with stabbing him 12 times? It's not as if David Amess left the group of people or was followed to walk alone down a dark alley. Okay, if that happened, yeah, then I could perfectly understand that. If it was just the two of them alone in a dark alley, right, then I could understand with this scumbag getting away with killing David Amess 12 times. But he was with a ball inside a building. I mean, how? I mean, getting away with it once, yeah, okay, twice, maybe, but 12? You know, you would think, right, that if any of you, right, was stabbing a person in a public place, after at least the second time, you would think other people would start interfering and restrain you, wouldn't you? But not this guy. No. What the hell happened here? I mean, to all the people in the church, I mean, were you all just standing in a circle and observing this horrific attack? What is wrong with you people? He's being stabbed. 4th time, 5th time, 6th time. He must have been screaming in agony, but apparently it seems that the rest of you people did nothing. That's the only conclusion I can come to think of. You just simply stood by and observed. Because if you had intervened, he wouldn't have been stabbed 17 times or 12 times or whatever, right? And maybe, just maybe, he might have survived, right? I mean, okay, it's possible that he could have died after being stabbed once. It all depends where he got stabbed. But you know, if you get stabbed 17 times or 12 times or 20 times or whatever, then it's a high probability that you are going to die from your wounds, aren't you? The law is broken and the system needs fixing. And how long is it going to be now until another MP is attacked? We already, right? Another MP that was attacked was somewhere in Yorkshire in 2016, Jo Cross. But she was killed in other circumstances, right? She was killed by a completely different person. She was killed by a white supremacist, and that person who was stabbing her was shouting, "Put Britain first." I don't know why I am comparing the two, because it's still a horrific attack. But I thought I'd better, you know, say that in case some smart aleck on here says, "Oh yeah, but she wasn't killed by an Islamic extremist." See, yes, I know that, but so what, right? It's still horrific. And what this teaches me as well is that if our MPs aren't safe, then what safety has us? You know, what safety has the law-abiding citizen got? Because if our MPs can be killed 12 times or 17 times in public, then there is something seriously wrong. Because it's obvious that nobody did anything. They didn't even try to save him. And I can't think which is worse. The guy who was doing the stabbing, or the people who just stood by and just observed. I would love to know your thoughts on this. I would love to know your thoughts. Please comment, please subscribe, please don't hesitate to hit the like button, and God bless you all in Jesus' name. And if I don't get to see any of you in this lifetime, I shall see you all in our Father's kingdom. Amen.